While Keir Starmer is out here learning TikTok dances and Labour is paying a Silicon Valley agency actual money to fight reform online, Nigel Farage has just gone and done something no British political party has ever done before. And honestly, you kind of have to respect the audacity. Reform UK has launched its own podcast. The first one, ever, in British political history. No other party has done this. Not Labour with their war chest. Not the Tories with their century of establishment power. Not the Lib Dems who, bless them, are still figuring out what decade it is. Reform got there first, and they did it on purpose. Now, before you either cheer or throw your phone across the room depending on where you stand politically, let's actually talk about what this means. Because this isn't just a fun little side project for Farage to waffle into a microphone on a Sunday afternoon. This is a calculated, deliberate, and frankly quite sharp move in the wider battle for who controls the political narrative in this country. And if you care about British politics, you need to understand what's happening here. So let's get into it. The podcast drops its first episode today, and the format is exactly what you'd expect from a party that has built its entire brand on the idea that the establishment is hiding something from you. Behind-the-scenes access, Farage on the campaign trail, candid moments with supporters, awkward moments with people who can't stand him, raw footage from Wales and Scotland as he campaigns ahead of the local elections. No polished presenter, no BBC-approved framing, just reform, unfiltered, straight into your ears. And here's why that actually matters. Think about it like this. For decades, political parties needed journalists. They needed broadcasters. They needed the intermediary, the person in the middle who would take their message, put it through the wash, and hand it to the public slightly wrinkled and a bit damp. Now, that middleman is being cut out entirely. Reform isn't pitching to journalists and hoping for a fair write-up. They are building their own studio, their own channel, their own podcast, their own direct line to millions of people. It's less a political party and more a media operation that happens to stand in elections. And the numbers back this up in a way that should make every other party deeply uncomfortable. Farage alone sits on a social media following of nearly 7.3 million across X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Now here's the kicker. That figure is bigger than Keir Starmer, Kimi Badenoch, Ed Davey, and Zach Polanski combined. The leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister, and the leaders of two other parties, all added together, still don't match one man's online reach. That is not a gap. That is a canyon. But this goes beyond just Farage's personal follow account, because Reform has figured out something that the other parties are still trying to copy. They understood early that the way people consume politics has fundamentally changed. Nobody is sitting down at 10 o'clock to watch the evening news the way they used to. People are on their phones. They are watching short videos on TikTok at 11:30 at night. They are listening to podcasts on their commute. They are getting their political opinions from people who feel real and unscripted rather than from presenters reading carefully worded statements off an autocue. Reform leaned into that while everyone else was still arguing about leaflet design. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the one in the GB News studio. Farage already has a primetime show on GB News, a channel that has had Ofcom breathing down its neck repeatedly over whether it's appropriate for active politicians to host news programs. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy has made it very clear the other reading is considerably less rosy. When a political movement controls its own media entirely, there's no independent check on what they say. No journalist pushing back on a dodgy claim mid-interview. No editor making a call to hold a story until it's verified. Just a party, a microphone, and a direct line to millions of people who are already inclined to believe them. At its best, it's transparency. At its worst, it's a propaganda machine wearing headphones. The truth, as ever in British politics, is probably somewhere in the middle and entirely dependent on who's running the thing. What isn't up for debate is that this podcast launch represents the furthest any British political party has gone in trying to own its entire media operation from top to bottom. They have the in-house television studio. They have Farage's social media empire. They have the GB News platform, contested as it is. They have a TikTok presence that is eating Labour's lunch among young men. And now they have a podcast that will follow their leader around the country in the run-up to what could be a very significant set of local elections. Reform is no longer just a political party trying to get into Westminster. They are a content machine trying to shape how the country thinks. And they are doing it faster, cheaper, and more effectively than any party that came before them. Whether you think that's brilliant or terrifying is entirely up to you. But you'd be foolish to pretend it isn't working. The podcast is available on Spotify and Apple. It launches today. And whatever your politics, it is worth at least one listen just to understand what this operation actually looks like from the inside. Because this is the future of British political communication, and it's already here. If you want to stay ahead of everything happening in UK politics without the spin, without the fluff, and without someone reading you a press release and calling it journalism, you are already in the right place. Subscribe to British Reform, hit the notification bell, and make sure you don't miss a single video because we are dropping content every single day and we are just getting started.